Being able to confidently approach women that you see out in your day-to-day life that are attractive to you is one of the most important skills you can master as a man who's trying to improve your dating life and date high quality women. Meeting women in this way is going to give you access to a lot higher SMV, more attractive, higher quality women than you would otherwise be able to get on something like dating apps. Within approaching, though, there are two main different types of approaches that you do in real life when you walk up and start a conversation with a girl. These are going to be cold approaches versus warm approaches. In this video, I'm going to explain the difference and the pros and cons to each one so you guys can best know how to navigate this aspect of dating. First one we're going to start with is going to be cold approaching. What is cold approaching? Cold approaching is going to be walking up to a girl who does not notice you. She does not see you. Say you see a girl walking down the sidewalk, she's looking at her phone, or at the coffee shop, she's working at her computer, etc. And you walk up to her, say hey, and start a conversation. That's going to be cold approaching. Warm approaching, on the other hand, is going to be when a girl is giving you choosing signals. So what a choosing signal is a sign that she wants you to approach. The most common ones of these are going to be she's looking, staring you right in the eyes without looking away for at least several seconds, smiling at you, putting herself near you, flipping her hair a little bit at you. These are some signs that she wants you to approach her, and because she's inviting you to approach her, this is going to be called warm approaching, all right? Because it's going to be a warmer approach versus a girl who doesn't see you at all. That's cold. You're just budging right in without an invitation. In my opinion, the main pro of cold approaching is just going to be the ability to improve your confidence, social skills, conversation skills, and numbing you and overcoming the anxiety and fear of approaching and getting rejected. Cold approaching girls, for guys who've never done it before, is going to be one of the scariest things you can do as a guy in any aspect of dating. And so direct exposure to this, repeated attempts, even if you're really bad and you get flustered and stutter in the beginning, repeated exposure to this is going to lower that stimulus so that you're not even going to experience the feeling of that anxiety anymore over time. This is probably going to be the number one pro of cold approaching, and the main thing that I recommend it for is just to numb you to that anxiety of approaching so that you can do so in a calm and confident way without that feeling of anxiety rushing up and you getting flustered, stuttering, your face getting red. So that's going to be the number one pro of cold approaching, is that you get practice with that through direct exposure therapy, basically going right into the discomfort until that situation no longer causes that anxiety response. Cold approaching also helps teach you an abundance mentality that no matter where you are, what stage of life, what situation you're in, you just going out in public have many options of women that you could go up to, start a conversation with, and get their number and date. This is going to help you a lot with keeping an abundance mentality versus someone who just stays inside all day and doesn't know that they can go confidently start conversations with strangers due to their social anxiety that they have not overcome through this exposure. Cold approaching also massively increases your dating pool. If you have the confidence to go up to any woman that you see at any time and start a conversation with her, that opens your dating pool to basically potentially anyone, right? Now, obviously, you could face rejection, but it just opens you up to so many different possibilities, and the possibility of girls who you might not otherwise have approached, or being in situations where you weren't confident enough to approach, having access to those girls who would say yes to you if you did approach them. It also allows you to connect with girls in fleeting moments, all right? A moment where you're on a train with a girl and she's walking past you on the aisle of the train, or you're on the sidewalk, you see her across the sidewalk, or she's looking at her phone walking towards you on the same side. At a coffee shop, like I said, a girl's focused on her work. She's not looking around in her environment. Situations where she doesn't even have the chance to notice you, and she might not ever see you again. It's going to be a great benefit of cold approaching because you can have the opportunity to build a connection with a girl in those fleeting moments. Overall, the number one pro of cold approaching is the self-development that it gives you, the confidence, the social skills that you build, and overcoming that approach and social anxiety that pretty much every guy naturally has starting out. There are going to be some serious cons to cold approaching now. And one of these is obviously just a higher rejection rate. So you're much more likely to get rejected when you're cold approaching versus if you're warm approaching, because if you're warm approaching, the girl is basically asking you to come talk to her. Cold approaching, the woman might be in a relationship already, might have not any interest in you at all, might not think you're attractive whatsoever. The rejection rate is just way, way, way higher. Just like in sales, you just going around knocking on random people's doors is not going to give you as high of a sale percentage as responding to people who send you an email or send you a DM interested in your services. Another major con here is that cold approaching puts you in the chaser position by default, right? She doesn't notice you and you are approaching her, coming up to her, chasing and pursuing her, which is not always an automatic horrible thing, but it is not nearly as ideal as the dynamic that occurs when you are warm approaching a girl, which we'll get into in a second. Another con is that it requires excellent delivery to be successful. So excellent tone, conversation skills, social skills, reading her body language, asking her out, exit strategy, etc. It all requires you to be a lot more dialed in and advanced in those areas than you would have to be with warm approaching, where a girl might forgive some flaws here or there that she wouldn't otherwise if you were a guy who she did not invite to approach and you just came out to her in a cold approach. In my opinion, what the absolute biggest con of cold approaching is doing so in environments where you will gain a social reputation of being kind of a creep and thirsty and desperate. So one area where I would never cold approach, for example, would be the gym. The gym is kind of a closed social circle. There's, you gotta have a membership to work out there. You kind of see the same type of people. And if people are continuously seeing you approach women and especially get rejected, because again, cold approaching has a much higher rejection rate, it is going to negatively harm your reputation. You're going to be seen as lower value. If other women see that, and they see that you are getting rejected, the woman does not have good body language, she doesn't really want to talk to you when you approach her, it's going to show that you're not pre-selected. And as we know, you guys watch my other videos, that is going to also have her put you in the rejection box. Even if maybe in the beginning she thought you were all right looking, seeing other women reject you is going to lower your attraction to all the other women in the area by far. And you could be able to creep, have a negative social reputation. Overall, I do not recommend cold approaching left and right in areas, closed social settings where you see the same type of people over and over again. All right, classrooms, school, work, obviously. I don't even know if you'd probably be cold approaching at work because you probably know most people there, but gyms, stuff like that is not recommended to constantly be cold approaching because there are serious cons that can occur if you do it very often, and especially if you're getting rejected. Moving on to warm approaching. Obviously, the number one benefit, number one pro of warm approaching is that you have a very, very high success rate. Basically, the girl is already telling you through giving you choosing signals that she likes you and she really wants you to come talk to her. So obviously, that's going to be a big difference between a girl who's just minding her own business and doesn't even notice you. Right? When a girl's literally asking you to come talk to her, if you go up, it's almost a guaranteed success that you're going to succeed in either getting her number or whatever you're trying to do. In addition, it sets the initial frame off in a better way. You actually here are not the chaser. You're more of the responder. Her giving you a choosing signal, even though she didn't come up and talk to you, was really her making the first move. So in this situation, she's actually the one who's initially pursuing you and thus putting you a little bit higher naturally on this initial pedestal than you would be otherwise when you're cold approaching a girl randomly and you're kind of putting her on a pedestal by coming up to her out of nowhere with interest. In addition, warm approaching is going to be a lot better in closed social settings like the gym because it's almost a guaranteed chance of you succeeding in the approach and not getting rejected. The woman having good energy, good vibes, good body language, enjoying talking to you. Other women are going to 100% notice that. What that's going to do is give you social proof and pre-selection. It's going to make the other women in the circle also a lot more attracted to you because of that. And you're going to get a lot more choosing signals from the other women who are seeing you succeed in these warm approaches. And in my opinion, my favorite aspect of warm approaching is that the girl has a very high attraction towards you. Women don't give choosing signals to every guy on a daily basis. They give it to a pretty small percentage of guys that they see, because for a girl to actually be like, dang, that guy looks so attractive to me, I'm going to go out of my way to give him choosing signals in the hopes that he comes talks to me, means that to her, you are going to be way above average in attractiveness and somewhat of a catch, at least just initially based on the things that she sees before you come talk to her. This dynamic's gonna be better for any type of relationship, no matter what you want, whether it's short term or it's extremely long term or you get married. You want to be with a girl who views you as that catch. You never want to be with a girl who, if she saw you in a closed social circle, would not give you choosing signals. This is why personally for me, I would never really consider getting into a relationship with a woman who I cold approach, because it depends on the situation, but in most cases, you're not really going to know if she truly views you as that catch, because there are going to be other guys that she sees who she is going to give choosing signals to, okay? And what you want to do is be in that select group of guys that she is so attracted to that she does that. That's why warm approaching guarantees that you're in that group of guys. You're in that upper echelon of guys that she wants so bad that she's going to make the first move with. That is going to be way better for any type of relationship. Because if you get in a relationship with a girl who does not view you on that level, guess what? She's going to be walking around seeing guys that she does everywhere she goes. A lot of temptations, a lot more likely for her to cheat on you, a lot less appreciation and respect for you. Whereas warm approaching, you're guaranteed that girl has that high respect and attraction for you from the beginning. Main cons of warm approaching. not that many that are a big deal in my opinion, but there are some. One is just going to be, you're gonna have a lot smaller pool of women to date if you're sitting around waiting for warm approaching, because even if a girl does not give you choosing signals, even if she sees you, but you come up to her and you have very confident, charismatic, etc., you can raise her attraction through the conversation. So even if she wasn't attracted initially to you 100%, you can still date girls who are still going to be very into you from cold approaching. Whereas if you were only sticking to warm approaching, you wouldn't have access to those girls, and it would never amount to anything that it otherwise could have. So you're gonna be limited to a much smaller pool of women. In addition, if you're the stage of self-improvement or just your initial hook, which is gonna be your looks, aura, confidence, pre-selection, etc., everything that she sees before you actually talk to her is not that developed yet or not that high, you're not gonna get that many choosing signals when you go out, and it's typically going to be from girls who are gonna be lower SMV than you. That's the thing. Most times when you get warm approaching choosing signals, it's gonna be from girls who are lower SMV than you, which is okay. In general, you want a girl to be at least a little bit lower SMV than you in a relationship. But if you go out of your way and really work hard, you can grind out relationships with girls who are gonna be a bit higher SMV. Now, again, that relationship is gonna be better just because she's a little bit higher SMV. Depends on what you want, but that's something to keep in mind. Warm approaching can also lead to complacency, dulling in your social skills, your confidence to go into situations where you're not guaranteed success, like in a cold approaching. So if you're complacent and you just wait around for choosing signals, then maybe you'll have less sharp social skills, less confidence to go up and talk to anyone that you want in general. So that is another con if you're just relying on warm approaching. Now, what's my conclusion on this is that I think cold approaching is really good to do in the initial stages of your self-development journey, or at least once you get a little bit of confidence going, because it's going to build that social skills, build that confidence, so that when you do see a girl who is giving you choosing signals, you can approach her and be extremely confident. Or when you see a girl who's really attractive, you have the confidence to go up and do so very confidently and with a high success rate, or much higher than you would have otherwise if you were trying to hide this anxiety that you had, and you're not gonna be able to hide the anxiety. Women can tell when you're anxious, when you're approaching them, so it's hard to fake it, and that's what cold approaching is good for, is getting through that stage to where you no longer feel the anxiety when you approach. However, eventually the goal should be to get to a state of self-improvement where you're getting warm approaching choosing signals from women that you are attracted to, so that you can basically have guaranteed success when you approach and be in relationships with women who view you as the ultimate prize and are pursuing you, pedestalizing you from the beginning instead of vice versa. So and now at this point in my life, if I was single, I would pretty much only be approaching girls who gave me at least some choosing signal. Right, all it's got to be is at least a little bit of a glance, look up and down. That's it. I probably wouldn't be going up to girls who completely were ignoring me altogether 100%, just because I just don't think it's worth the time and effort when there's going to be a lot of other girls who are going to be giving you choosing signals and who view you as that catch. So in the end, cold approaching is going to be an aspect of training that helps build the man that you're becoming. And then once you become that man through that, and as well as all other aspects of self-improvement, mainly the method, watch the full hour masterclass in the description below. The reward you get for that grind is going to be the warm approaches that you're going to have access to once women start giving you choosing signals. Hope this made sense. You guys got some valuable information from this video. Please comment down below other topics you want me to make videos on. And as always, subscribe for truth. Peace.